Those of you who know me well know that I really like to read. And one book which I got as a gift from a prospective supplier has been causing quite a bit attention. Sometimes people see it standing in my bookshelf and they ask me, and sometimes they are angry, sometimes they feel supported, and because this book really has quite a bit of public traction, I want to take a look at what it's all about, because as you might know, I've done my fair share of business in China, and well, I have an opinion about the tome. Let us start off by describing how the book is actually written and why it gets a lot of praise for the funny, fluffy writing. It's basically a novel which covers the experiences of the author who works as a China consultant. And he mainly created a company called Yizonson Carta, which has all kinds of misadventures. And as you see here, he picks a very, very humorous, almost novel-like writing style. So you see he really heavily, here for example, this is something which, it offends to some extent. But the author is a member of a protected class, so practically he gets away with it, and the people look at it and they laugh. So that explains why the book gets good reviews for the fun writing style. And while I am far from a social justice warrior, in fact most of them hate me, just because the way I am, there is one significant problem with the book which I want to point out with two diagrams. First of all, the author is a China consultant, and though I fully believe that in his daily work he sees all of these companies which have all kinds of different problems. But for the book, he condensed it all into the relationship between the aforementioned Yizonson Carta and the supplier King Chemical. And while this condensation definitely made the book more fun to read than an academic transcript, it of course changes the perception, because instead of seeing this whole network where everybody has one problem, now you see only Yizonson Carta with all the problems, and you naturally, by the Baader-Meinhof effect, get triggered to think that companies like King Chemical, all of them are crooks. To illustrate the problem, me being an old coot, let's look at some friends of mine. No names given and the attributes are fictional. Number A has hot feet, is very smart, but is very self-wounded and whiny. Number 2 has a PhD in maths and superb feet, but her upkeep is terrible. Number 3 is a great manager, loves work, but she has ugly feet and is very loud. And candidate number 4 is cheerful, but she literally, if she sees a fundamental of a sign on an oscilloscope screen and you ask her if the waveform is stable or labile, she will say it is stable, even though it's obvious that the regulator doesn't work. And now comes the problem of our friend and our book at hand. This guy definitely won't do it. So I'm sorry, but I have to ask you instead. Please, please like and subscribe. If you don't like, if you don't subscribe, this channel can't grow. And if it can't grow, I can't provide you with any more content. So please, please be nice. Thank you. He goes in here and he creates another woman. Let's call her Chucky. With the devil's horns. I suck at drawing, especially live. And now, first of all, I have to close the pen. He takes all of these negative attributes from here, all of them, he just collects them. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then he looks at Chucky and he says, all girls are like Chucky. And while you see here in the form of a diagram, it's of course to some extent, I mean, you can draw it, but as we say in Austria, paper is very patient. And while this drawing leads to Chucky, I don't think that you will find a real-life Chucky. Or if you do, then Chucky probably is a freak of nature, just like me, who spends his evenings making YouTube videos. But one also has to give the book honesty and truth in one point. You need to keep one thing in mind. The Chinese economy is growing at a rapid pace. Please, no discussions about the gold standard in the comments. And things which grow rapidly sometimes get problems. A good example is what you see right here on the screen. This is Air Berlin. Some, let's say, 10 or 15 years ago, they were a tiny little airline. They had like 10 aeroplanes. They had a cheap, it wasn't even a real first class for the status customers. They were cheap, they were cheerful, they were flying around, they treated you well, and everybody liked them. And then money came into the company, and the owner, well, he bought the tomb of German airline financiers. And from that moment onward, the company became a huge multi-million-dollar enterprise, and things just started to fall apart, leading to an eventual bankruptcy. And so, of course, given that the Chinese economy grows as fast as it grows, it is more than likely that you will find your fair share of Air Berlins among your suppliers. And the trick for that is, of course, if you find an Air Berlin, you better swap to another airline, and you swap before your tickets become invalidated. And then the final criticism I have to make is this. You see that the book is very, very old, more than 10 years now. And in the last 10 years, China has developed tremendously. And so also a lot of the Chinese are undeveloped shit is something which really doesn't apply much anymore today. So, with all of this said and done, there are two questions we still need to answer. First of all, how did this guy here fare? Probably he became a multi-millionaire by writing this book. So at least one person definitely profited from it. And the second important question you need to ask yourself when this book lands on your bookshelf is, why does it come to you? In my case, I got it as a gift from a Serbian lady who was handling a China management company, which I don't want to name. And she gave me this book because she wanted me to be afraid of dealing with the Chinese suppliers directly, and she wanted to be paid instead, of course. And so I think the most important takeaway from this book, if it comes your way, is that you immediately need to ask yourself, why do you get it? Is it just somebody who wants to give you an interesting novel? Is it somebody who just has his political beliefs in the need of being satisfied? Or is it somebody who wants to mess with your mind? And so, with that, I wanted to thank you very much. Please subscribe if you enjoy electronics and electrical engineering and test equipment. And of course, leave me a comment and tell me what you think. Thank you very much.